Good morning, everyone. Guys, we're talking about drones today and the specific threat to the United Kingdom. Now, you can put this template on Europe, on the United States, but what I want to focus on is the United Kingdom because I live here. I know the situation a lot better. But what I would say also is there could be a similar, if not greater, threat in Europe and, of course, the United States. So I had a conversation with one of my friends last night who's in the military. I can't, and it doesn't really matter for the purpose of this video, but he phoned me up. He said, listen, Sean, he's been watching my videos. He knows I've got a little bit of experience in this space. He said, what is the solution to these drones? I said, what do you mean by the drone? He said, well, in the military, we're trialing a lot of equipment at the moment as counter-drone equipment. And I said to him, listen, there is nothing really that you can do to counter these drones. First of all, people, when you hear the word drone, you think of, there's a whole range of, aircraft that this encompasses from, the big, huge Globe Hawks. I've heard some rumors that the Chinese have a fleet of Russian MiGs or something that they've turned into drones. There's there's the smaller handheld ones that can be, operated and launched from the back of a vehicle. And then there's the really small, like quadcopters that you can buy from the photographers use. You can buy them from like the electronic shops in the UK. Now, with all these systems, there's different threats, there's different capacity, and there's a different way of dealing with them. But guys, there isn't a cost-effective way of dealing with these. Now, I think, and I've said for such a long time, in the United Kingdom, as we're heading towards this war, and I mean, people are talking that we're already in it already. There's a lot of mainstream media have come out and we've said we're in this conflict. I see the risk of sabotage to the United Kingdom as the number one threat. And I think right now we have a huge risk of, these drones operating in the United Kingdom, taking out key installations, vital, vital parts of our electricity grid, vital parts of our water grid, and this is what's been happening in Ukraine. So do we think it's beyond the realms of possibility that, a pro-Russian guy who has dual nationality comes back to the UK as a migrant, and then with all that knowledge, guys, when these people get to the, when they get to the border crossing point or whatever, and they come into the United Kingdom, they check them for, I'm assuming they check them and they check through their belongings, make sure there's no contraband on them. Can they look into their brain and decide whether they can build drones from scratch and weaponize them? Do we think there's some sort of brain scanner that they know? Of course not. If this knowledge and this information is gained on the front line in Ukraine, whether that's fighting on the Ukrainian side or the Russian side, and these guys know how to fabricate these things from scratch, from raw materials, from, parts that you can buy in any hobbyist shop, do we think that knowledge can't be brought over to the United Kingdom and then put together in some sort of attack drone? Absolutely it can, guys. 100% that can happen. Now, I think we do have a real threat in the United Kingdom of sabotage, and guys, as wild as this sounds, but also as drone attack. Now, my friend was telling me, he was saying they've been given lots of kit and equipment to trial in the United Kingdom on their military bases to take down drones. And I said to him, look, there isn't anything really you can do apart from, shoot them out the sky. He says, well, that's not going to work in the UK. And I was like, wow, okay. So he's asking me now. And again, I don't know what the pretense of the conversation was. I didn't, when you meet, when you have these conversations with people who are still serving in the military, I never ask them questions. I'm never intruding with my questions. I just talk to them and answer their questions, as I can. But, when he said that won't work in the UK, now I'm thinking that they're looking at, incidents like, was it Heathrow or Stansted Airport got closed down? There was a drone. And, I said straight away, I said, look, there's plenty of, you know, snipers around who can put a round in that thing, and that will be it, over, finished, done. You know, but they weren't allowed to do that because of X, Y, and Z, red tape, yada, yada, yada. You know, so that actually ended up costing millions and millions of pounds in redirected flights, missed flights, all sorts of stuff that caused. You know, and people understand this, you know, and then he's talking about lasers. And I said to him, I said, listen, you know, these, let me do a share screen as well. I said, lasers are great and they're fine and they're, you know, they're all over the news and people, you know, are talking about them. But the reality is, guys, if you can see this one here, I think this is a Bayraktar drone. The only thing lasers are good for really is taking down something of that size. They don't work on things smaller because of you think about a laser having to, the laser has to be on that for like 15 to 30 seconds for it to burn a hole through it. And that's got to be under 2 kilometers. Guys, if I'm boring anyone, I do apologize. You know, it's just something that I understand the physics of this. So you can imagine how long that has to be on there, and the targeting system that laser has to have with it, the hydraulics that can operate that left, down, up, right, to be able to put that on that drone while that drone is moving at 60, 70, 80 kilometers, 100 kilometers an hour. Now, if you think that's a lot, you can imagine these smaller quadcopters that are moving, they're being blown in the wind. You know, it's a lot more difficult for these drones to be, you know, targeted by lasers. So I said, lasers not the solution. It's just going to be a waste of money. It's going to be a waste of taxpayers' money, and it's not going to achieve anything. As well, you can't really forward mount lasers. You can't put lasers with infantry. You can't put lasers on the front line because of the amount of power that these things use. And you can imagine this big laser that's cost X amount of millions. 20 of these smaller, you know, imagine 20 attack drones coming to it, the small quadcopter type things. There's no solution to it. And right here in the United Kingdom right now, we are so vulnerable for a drone attack. I think as soon as it happens, everybody's going to start paying attention to this conflict. And, you know, maybe that's when people will start to say, you know what, guys, we are actually in this conflict. So the next size down drone is you know, are these type of drones? Are these type of drones? These would be what I'd say, you know, these are like handheld drones that can be launched from the back of a truck or something. So these are the larger, still larger fixed wing type drones. You can have a bit bigger, a bit smaller. I think this was a Shaheed. I don't know what the others are. But, you know, you can see these things. If like these things probably cost, I don't know, 100 grand each. I don't know. I'm speculating. It depends what gimbal and what engine they've got on them. But these things will probably cost around 100 grand each. Think how much your laser system costs. It costs millions. Now, I can pretty much guarantee you if 5 or 10 of these were heading straight towards a laser, they would take it out because the laser wouldn't have time to track between all 5, 10 targets, and it wouldn't have time to successfully, you know, take them all out. Remember, these lasers are only lethal up to about 2 kilometers. After 2 kilometers, you might as well shine a torch on them because they're not going to work. So at 2 kilometers, traveling 60 kilometers at 100 kilometers an hour, you know, moving fast, has to be on one for up to 15 to 30 seconds. Do the maths. You don't have enough time to track between these targets. So at least 50% will get through. Then your laser's gone, and then you can bring in the bigger boys. But the real threat to the United Kingdom, is these ones here. Let me just, I'll share this one with you guys, because these I feel readily available in the United Kingdom, and these can be adapted. So small and lethal adaptive drones carrying explosives hunt civilians in Kherson. So where are we looking? So these are the type, guys, that are the threat to the United Kingdom. These are the ones that have been fitted with munitions, they've been fitted with small charges, and then they're going around and hunting people. Guys, you can buy these in any shop, any electronic shop in the United Kingdom. People know how to retrofit these. People know how to weaponize these. You know, I'm genuinely surprised this has not happened at the moment. And as we're moving through a crazy world where, you know, we're looking at World War III, we're looking at Zelensky now threatening NATO with nuclear weapons. I think he'll get them. I see no reason why a sovereign country can't develop their own nuclear weapons. I mean, the Ukrainians already have a huge rocket capacity. You know, there's companies in Dnipro, there's companies in Kremenchuk, I think. There's companies, you know, and Ukraine is a huge provider of nuclear energy, so they already have that infrastructure. You know, so I think they will get nuclear weapons. There's the added bonus now if you live on the streets of the United Kingdom of these alliances. Where what did David Lammy say yesterday? Let me just quickly search this, guys. Let me see if I can find it. What he said. He said something like he's going to use every power in his disposal to. I can't remember what it was. Where is it? I can't remember what it was, guys. I wasn't going to. Here we are. Is it? No, I can't. David Lammy yesterday basically said something like he will use every every asset available to to be against the Russians. So you can see what's happening here. There's no going back for the United Kingdom now. We're going to be at war with Russia. Some people are saying we're already at war. I'm saying we have already been at war for a while. As more things come out, when are people in the United Kingdom going to understand that this is just happening? And it's all well and good people saying, we don't want war, we don't want war. When you're in a war, try telling the other people that are trying to, inflict damage on you that you don't want a war. And I think the threat to the United Kingdom is, a drone attack, because these things are readily available in the shops. They're readily available online. Parts can be imported. There's no weapons licenses on these things. There's no export licenses on these things. We've seen in the United Kingdom that people can make these things that go bang in there, in these back rooms, in wherever, and now we have the added aspect of you don't have to put these in a backpack anymore. You can literally put these in a flying drone and fly them wherever you want. Do we really think that, the airspace, that there's a solution for these? Absolutely not, guys. It's terrifying. I think the electricity, I think the first threat would be the electricity. The biggest threat would be the electricity substations. I also think there's a threat to politicians, to prominent people, and as soon as this starts happening, guys, you're going to see a dynamic change in the United Kingdom as quickly as you can imagine. It's going to be absolutely insane, guys. Okay. So we really are under threat of drone attack right now, and not the big drones, not those big ones that everybody's talking about. And you get these generals and colonels and they're saying, we can take down a multi-million-dollar drone for the price of a bottle of wine. They're lying to you, guys. We are being gaslit. That's not how it works at all. Please, I would love to speak to someone who has knowledge of physics, knowledge of lasers, knowledge of aerodynamics better than me, and they can tell me, oh yes, Sean, those little quadcopters, our laser that can take them down for a bottle of wine, that will work. And then explain to me how the hydraulics will differentiate between, first of all, tell me how the radar will differentiate between the targets. Tell me how the radar will prioritize in those targets, because all these systems have to be done automatically. Tell me how the hydraulics will be able to what's the word I'm looking for? Move between traverse between targets within that time frame. It's not going to work. So lasers are pointless. Okay, what about these little guns that fire radio frequencies at the drones? Unless you know the rough spectrum that those drones are operating on, they're not really, they're worthless. They're just a waste of money. They're big, they're heavy, they're cumbersome. I remember when I was in the military, we used to do a lot of testing of kit and equipment, and most of it was pointless. Most of it was pointless. It was a waste of money. The MOD would buy it and it would be what it is. Anyway, guys, that's me. I'm going to leave it there. That's the jux of the video. Drone attacks coming to the United Kingdom, World War III, nukes, Zelensky, all sorts of wild stuff. And remember, guys, it's Friday. Bad stuff happens on a Friday. Anyway, guys, I'm going to Mac to Grid and I'll get you guys another video later.